discovering and using additional connectors. Now, there are connectors that aren't out of the box in Studio. Studio comes with 30 out-of-the-box connectors, but there are some more that you can find in the Exchange. A lot of these will allow you to connect to third-party APIs, so if you're going to be interacting with a system, be sure to check to see if there's a pre-existing connector for it, rather than trying to learn the entire API of how to interact with that endpoint. One way that you can discover and install these connectors is through Anypoint Exchange. Exchange is a library that you can have for both public and private assets. The public assets are going to include MuleSoft contributed connectors, templates, examples, ramls, WSDLs, and other artifacts as well. Connectors you'll find will have different levels, and you can get more information in our documentation about these levels, but just to give you a high-level graph, you're going to see Premium, Select, Standard, and Community, which each of the respective support, cost, information applied based on this table. Connector support levels Tier 1 will mean that MuleSoft will isolate the problem and diagnose it. Tier 2, MuleSoft will find a workaround. And Tier 3, MuleSoft fully owns that code, so if there is a bug, we are going to fix it in the case of Tier 3. So let's get into walkthrough 11.5, a simple walkthrough where we'll just go in and check out the Exchange, see where we can download and install a not-in-the-box connector, and we will install a Slack connector in this use case. So let's get started by heading into Anypoint Studio. Anypoint Studio, let's click the Exchange button in the top left. And once Exchange opens up, we can go inside of here and show the different connectors by clicking the Connectors area. We can then scroll through and see some of the various connectors that are available for different systems. Let's go in for the Slack connector, view some details, and we can get some information about the Slack connector, its versions, link to the documentation, and so on. Let's go ahead and install the Slack connector. And it will ask for some information, so feel free to take a moment to put in some information inside of this dialog. And then when you hit install, it should begin the installation process of this connector inside of Anypoint Studio. Eventually, an install screen will pop up with some information about the connector itself. We can go ahead and install it by going through the next process, accepting the license agreement after you've looked it over, and hit finish. Once the install is completed, you'll be asked to restart Studio, in which case you can hit yes. Now that Anypoint Studio has restarted, if we go back into the design phase, you should now be able to see the Slack connectors available to you. You can play around with the Slack connector by dropping it in, checking out some of the various operations that are available to you, and now you've installed a connector. If you do desire to remove or at least see what connectors are available to you based on what you've got installed, you can always go up to Help and check out Installation Details. Inside of Installation Details, you'll see all the software that is installed in your current Anypoint Studio instance. In this case, you can see the Slack connector towards the bottom here, in which we could uninstall it and remove it from Studio if we desired to do so. For now, we'll hit close, and that's an example of how easy it is to look up other connectors and install them in AnyPoint Studio.